Merry Christmas and welcome to worship today in Burlington Baptist Church. I have to admit, I'm so used to saying good morning, but I don't know if it's morning where you are right now. But whatever time of day it is, wherever you may be, we're delighted that you've chosen to worship God with us on this Christmas Day morning. We're grateful too for neighbors who are joining us in worship, and we're joining them as well today. Sister churches in our community here, Knox Presbyterian Church and Port Nelson and Wellington Square United Churches. Welcome to those of you who are joining us from those congregations as well. This is not the way we normally worship, and I have to confess I'm not entirely comfortable doing this in front of a camera, but it is important for us to come together to celebrate Jesus' birth, and we're glad that you're a part of this gathering and this time of worship together today. I want to say thank you to those who have helped to prepare us for worship and who are leading us in worship. Thank you to those who have contributed their musical talents and gifts, their voices, and also those who are reading as part of our worship today too. In particular, I want to draw your attention to the poetry that is seasoned throughout the service. It's all the work of Shirley Irena Murray, a prolific modern hymn writer who passed away just about a year and a half or so ago. Shirley came from New Zealand, and her poetry was picked up and has become part of the hymnals of many different denominations. Our own hymnal has about a dozen of her hymns in it. She's written quite a bit of Christmas poetry, Christmas music. And because we'll probably never sing those songs, but because it's such rich poetry, I decided that we would use it to lead us to Bethlehem and into the Christmas story today. So I hope that you'll appreciate it as we go along. Once again, thank you all for joining us in worship today. Good Christian friends, rejoice with heart and soul and voice. Give ye heed to what I say. News, news, Jesus Christ is born today. Ox and ass before him bow, and he is in the manger now. Christ is born today. Christ is born today. Come and let us bow before him too. Let us pray. Nurturing God, you brought your word of life to birth through the faithfulness of your servants Mary and Joseph. Bring us and our world to birth by that same gracious word, that we who hunger and thirst after righteousness may be filled, and that our world may become your new creation. This we ask in the name of their child, Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Always there's a carol. Always there's a carol waiting for a voice. Always there's a candle waiting for a flame. Always there's an angel telling us, rejoice. So sing the carol, light the candle, join the angel praise. Christmas is the day of all days. Always when we seek it shines the Christmas star. Always God is present, could we only see. Always God enfolds us, holds us where we are. So sing the carol, light the candle, join the angel praise. Christmas is the day of all days. Always out of darkness, countering the strife, always comes the Christ child leading us to peace. Always there's a baby crying for a life. So sing the carol, light the candle, join the angel praise. Christmas is the day of all days.
Dream a dream. Dream a hopeful dream, as children do on Christmas Eve. Imaginings, surprising things to hold and to believe. Dream a time, this Christmas time, when no one's hungry or afraid, that weapons go and harvests grow, that friends are met and made. Dream a peace, our planet's peace, the greeting of the earth at play, the holy ground where life is found, where God has touched the clay. Dream a gift, the Christmas gift, that changes everything we see, the shimmering of angel wing, the child, the mystery.
Child of Christmas Story. Child of Christmas Story, stable straw and star, small and sweet and gentle, tell us who you are. Child whose baby finger round our own is curled, come to melt our hearts and come to change the world. Child of Jew and Gentile, child of white and black, teach us how to love you, teach us what we lack. Child of Mary's courage, birthed in human pain, tell us what your name is. Be our hope again.
Please join me as we turn to God once again in prayer. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, you come to us and you meet us in the strangest of ways. sometimes in the stillness at the eye of a storm, or in the midnight of our lives, sometimes in the raging whirlwind, or in the high noon of our responsibilities. Sometimes it's in the reflection of those who've lived long lives, and at other times it's in the moment of birth, when all is potential and the future can't yet be known. Meet us now as we remember the birth of the Christ child, who brought to Mary and Joseph the anxiety and the joy of new life. When we, like Joseph, stand waiting, don't let us be frozen in inaction by a sense of futility because the future looks grim and out of our control, but enable us instead to press on in your hope. When, like Mary, we ponder our lives, may our ideas of what you do never be so rigid that we mistake the work and teaching of your unlikely prophets as mere foolishness and insanity. Keep us open to your surprising presence and call. Arouse us from our habitual patterns of activities and send us like the shepherds, scurrying across the fields to some impossible birth of a new day, because we've heard strange music in the night, announcing that your greatest pleasure is to give all creatures your wholeness and your peace. Disturb our dreams of empires and dominions, so that, like the Magi, we may refuse to support the deceitful Herods of our day, those who promise status and success sanctioned by religious piety and untroubled by prophetic judgment. While we mourn victims of poverty and war and disaster overseas, never let us forget the slaughter of the innocents in our own country either. Those who die physically, emotionally, and intellectually one by one, because we have not yet imagined and enacted ways to bring peace and fullness of life to all. And turn us into faithful dreamers who don't seek to return to our own country or to our past era by the same old ways, but rather those who would strike out for your country, your kingdom, by another way, Christ's way, a way of selfless giving and sacrifice and service. Since you came to those who enacted the first Christmas, we are bold to seek your creating, redeeming, and sustaining presence here and now in one another. Enliven our worship, deepen our commitment. Then send us out into the world's darkness with new visions and dreams, and with songs of thanksgiving to follow your lead toward your kingdom for the sake of Jesus the Nazarene. Amen.
The Christmas Child. The Christmas child is a troublesome child, as troublesome as the word, that stirred the waters from the deep and let God's voice be heard. The Christmas child is a spirited child whose questions give and rule, who flouts convention's pious face, who laughs and plays the fool. The Christmas child is a generous child, extravagant in excess, who spends the coin of life and hope to recreate and bless. The Christmas child is a dangerous child when to a prophet grown, whose vision takes a thorny path, whose cross may be our own. The Christmas child is a troublesome child, as troublesome as the word, that stirred the waters from the deep and let God's voice be heard. The Christmas child is a luminous child, whose peace the angels sing, whose star no darkness overcomes, whose life lights everything.
Walk softly, talk softly.
No obvious angels. No obvious angels sing through the night skies. No thunderstruck shepherds tell out their surprise. For Christmas comes into the here and now through star-sighted people, the watchful and hopeful who wake us to see a new world. Our angel potential is waiting to start. The Spirit will teach us the song of the heart, for Christmas comes into the here and the now through peacemaker people, the just and the gentle, the stars who will light the new world. Whoever will take it is given the role, the fruitful, the faithful, the joyous of soul. For Christmas comes into the here and the now when we are the angels who dream and deliver, who rise and create this new world.
Luke chapter 1, verses 26 to 38. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to the Galilean village of Nazareth to a young woman engaged to be married to a man descended from King David. The man's name was Joseph, and the woman's name was Mary. Upon entering her home, Gabriel greeted her, saying, "Rejoice, highly favored one, God is with you. Blessed are you among women." Now Mary was deeply troubled by these words and wondered what the angel's message meant. But the angel assured her, "Mary, don't be afraid. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and bear a son, and give him the name Jesus, which means deliverance. His dignity will be great, and he will be called the only begotten of God. God will give him the judgment seat of David, his ancestor, to rule over the house of Jacob forever, and his reign will never end." Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I've never been with a man?" And the angel answered her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Hence the offspring to be born will be called the Holy One of God. Know too that Elizabeth, your kinswoman, has conceived a child in her old age. She who was thought to be infertile is now in her 6th month. Nothing you see is impossible with God." And Mary said to him, "I am the servant of God. Let it be with me just as you say." With that, the angel left her.
I was 9 years old, and it was Christmas. And my Christmas list that year contained only one item. Now, my Sunday school teacher told us that God always answers our prayers. So just in case Santa and my parents weren't listening, I also added that one item to my nightly prayer list. Because more than anything else, that year I wanted a bicycle. And not just any bicycle would do. I wanted a blue CCM Mustang bicycle with the long banana seat and the high handlebars. They were so cool. I'd seen them on television, and a kid from my school had a green one, which was kind of a wussy color, but the bike nonetheless was a great bike, and I had to have one. And I knew if I got that bike that I would have everything that I could ever want or need. And I knew what I'd do with it. I would keep it in my room until the first day in spring when all the snow was gone, and then I'd take it outside. And I'd attach a panel from a cigarette pack to the forks with a clothespin so that it would rattle on the forks, on the spokes. And then I'd ride that bike proudly around the neighborhood with the wind in my brush cut hair and the clacking of that cigarette package roaring like a Harley Davidson. And I would own those streets, and all would be right with the world. I had it all figured out. I could see it all. Well, you can imagine then my excitement when about 2 weeks before Christmas, my friend and I found a big cardboard box in the back corner of the basement of my house. And on the side of that box was stenciled the words, CCM Mustang Bicycle. Now the box was empty, so I'd have to wait to see what color they got. But for now at least, I was certain that my parents had heard my plea and God had answered my prayers, and there would be a shiny new Mustang bicycle waiting for me on Christmas morning. It was hard keeping the telltale grin off my face, a grin that would surely give away the fact that I knew what I wasn't supposed to know. So I practiced. When no one was looking, I poked around the basement, wondering where my folks had hidden the bike. And I marveled at their sneakiness when I didn't find anything. Sometimes I even looked in the mirror and practiced saying, "Oh, wow, a Mustang bike," while looking surprised. I ached for Christmas to arrive because I knew that this was going to be the best Christmas ever. Well, Christmas did finally arrive, as they're prone to do. And Christmas morning, I ran to the living room, ready to look surprised. And wow, I sure did, because there was no bike, nowhere to be seen. Never mind, I thought, my mom and dad are just waiting for the right moment to bring it in. They're really sneaky. So I waited, but all day I waited. Presents were opened, family came with more presents, but no bicycle ever materialized. And I was devastated. My mother came to tuck me into bed that night and found me crying, and I couldn't even bring myself to tell her why. The day had been so sad and so confusing. Well, the next week, my friends and I decided that what we had here was a real live mystery on our hands. We even called it the mystery of the missing Mustang. And we set out to gather clues and try to figure out just exactly what had happened to my bike. Well, weeks went by with no break in the case when suddenly it kind of hit me again. How could I have been so foolish not to see before? You see, my birthday's the last week in February. And of course I hadn't got the bike for Christmas. My parents knew that the wait for spring would kill me. So they were saving the bike for my birthday. That was it, yeah. But when my birthday came and went, and my dreams were dashed again, and my prayers again went unanswered, I finally decided it was time to confront my mother with some hard questions. And she looked puzzled when I asked about the bike. And so I took her down into the basement and I showed her the box. And then she smiled knowingly at me and said, "Oh, David, that's just an empty box. It's the box that the mattresses came in when we got a new tent trailer last summer." That wasn't what I wanted to hear, of course. But the case was closed. The mystery was solved. It's been a long time since I was 9 years old, and many, many Christmases have come and gone since then. And I've had plenty of opportunity to reflect on the mystery of the missing Mustang, and I realized that I now see the whole experience quite differently than I did then. I still remember how devastating it seemed at the time, how disappointing it was. But it didn't really harm me. It didn't scar me for life. Just the opposite, I think. In fact, it taught me some important life lessons. First, I learned that you don't always get what you want in life, that disappointment is a painful and yet real part of all of our lives. I also learned that God doesn't always answer our prayers, at least not in the way we expect. And as a self-centered child, I couldn't see that in order for my parents to fulfill my wish for a bike, they'd have to disappoint my sisters and brothers because there was only so much money to go around. And even though at the time I was sure that what I needed in all the world was a bike, they knew better. They knew that what I needed was their love and their care. And knowing what I as a child could not yet know or comprehend, they responded appropriately and they gave me what gifts they could. And they made sure I had those ones that I needed the most. There's a line in the Apostle Paul's letter to the Romans as he's summing up his letter, in which he makes reference to what he calls the revelation of the mystery, hidden for such long ages past, but now finally revealed. And of course, he's talking about God's saving work in Jesus. Long, long before Paul, prophets had spoken about a promise from God to redeem all of creation and to bring rebellious human beings like us back into relationship with their Creator. And for generations, there'd been a sense of expectation within God's people. God is coming to save us, they told each other. And they imagined just exactly how God would do that, and how great and glorious it would be when that time came. But generations lived and died without seeing that salvation that they longed for. And disappointed, some began to feel that maybe the promise was hollow and empty. But Paul assures the church in Rome that in Jesus, God's promise from long ages past is finally fulfilled. The mystery is disclosed, but in some surprising and unexpected ways. And it strikes me that this is an important message of Christmas, that God, who loves us as parents love their children, is fulfilling this promise of salvation, a promise that was first made long ago, but God's doing so not according to our expectations, but according to God's own parental wisdom and grace. And in response, you and I may need to be reminded sometimes that it's not actually all about us and our expectations. It's not just about our hopes and dreams. There's something bigger going on here. God's dream is being realized, and the best that we can do in response is to be open to mystery, to trust in God, and to be ready to be surprised. Look at Mary in the Christmas story. There she is in Nazareth, a young poor woman betrothed to be married, when one day an angel appears and tells her that she, of all people, is going to bear a child, one who will fulfill these ancient promises of God. But the prophets foretold a king, not a peasant child. And she and her people were expecting a ruler, not a toddler, a bicycle, not a baby. And yet, instead of laughing in the angel's face or pouting or pointing out just how silly this all sounded, Mary responds with an openness to this unexpected intrusion of God into her ordinary, predictable world, an openness that we all find amazing. She humbly offers her love, her life, her all. It is an amazing and a wonderful response. This Christmas, as with every Christmas, you and I approach the holiday with great expectations. We've been to Christmas many times before, and so we think we know what to anticipate. We've been coming to church for years, so we've pretty much got this Christianity thing all worked out. We know what we want and what we expect. But perhaps this year we need to lay aside our expectations and instead stand open to mystery and receive with gratitude and humility what we are given by God to have and to be and to do. And then, like Mary, perhaps we too will be ready to respond genuinely. Here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word, O God. Knowing that today and always, God's word to us is love. Amen.
Because of the baby. Because of the baby when Gabriel told her. Because of the baby when Mary said yes. Because of the faithful, the brave, and the hopeful, still Christmas keeps coming to comfort and bless. Because of the baby, the parents were suspect. Because of the baby, just anyone's guess. Because there are children conceived without welcome, still Christmas keeps coming in tears and distress. Because of the baby, they camped in a stable. Because of the baby, no classy address. Because there's poor justice for helpless or homeless, still Christmas keeps coming to stir and redress. Because of the baby, King Herod was frightened. Because of the baby, great rulers played chess. Because of the mitres and thrones that have tumbled, still Christmas comes close to the least and the less. Because of the baby, the planets were dancing. Because of the baby, the world became light. Because in this child is stardust made holy, will Christmas keep coming and coming and coming till all is made joyful and peaceful and right.
The only Son from heaven foretold by ancient seers, by God the Father given, in human form appears. The starry light unfailing, the stars so brightly shining, as in a morning star. O time of God appointed, O bright and holy morn, He comes the King anointed, the Christ our Virgin born. Bring death to vanquish for us, to open and before us, and bring us life again. Awaken, Lord, our spirit to know and love you more. In faith to stand unshaken, in spirit to adore. That we through this world moving, each news of heaven proving, may reap its fullness there. O Father, here before you, with carnal holy ghost, and Jesus we adore you, O guardian angel host. Before your portals bow we, cry, holy, 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 O blessed Trinity, O blessed
Bring in your new world. Bring in your new world, child of the sun. God's shining presence, bright in your essence, Christmas begun. Bring to our sad world light and delight, singing and laughter, hope as our shelter, stars to our night. Bring in your new world, child of the East, dangerous leader, born to be pleader, prophet, and priest. Come with your judgment, voice for the poor, born to collision, God's righteous vision, here at our door. Bring in your new world, child of all time, peace without border, peace the new order, lion with lamb. Come in the healing, sharing of bread, justice and freedom, signs of the kingdom, everyone fed. Bring in your new world, child of our earth, hold in creation in your compassion, waiting your birth. Come, little human, cry your first breath, cry out God's kindness, light out of blindness, life out of death.
Reading from Matthew chapter 1, beginning to read at verse 18. This is how the birth of Jesus came about. When Jesus' mother Mary was engaged to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Joseph, her husband, an upright person unwilling to disgrace her, decided to divorce her quietly. This was Joseph's intention when suddenly the angel of God appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, heir to the house of David, don't be afraid to wed Mary. It's by the Holy Spirit that she has conceived this child. She is to have a son, and you are to name him Jesus, which means salvation, because he will save the people from their sins." All this happened to fulfill what God has said through the prophet. The virgin will be with child and give birth, and the child will be named Emmanuel, a name that means God is with us. When Joseph awoke, he did as the angel of God had directed, and they went ahead with the marriage. He did not consummate the marriage, however, until she had given birth. She had a son. They named him Jesus.
Once in royal David's city stood a lonely cattle shed, where a mother laid her baby in a manger for his bed. Mary was that mother, Jesus Christ, her little child. Long time ago in Bethlehem, so the Holy Bible say, Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ, was born on Christmas Day. Hark now, hear the angels sing, new king's born today, and man will live forevermore because of Christmas Day. While shepherds watch their flocks by night, they saw a bright new shining star, and heard a choir from heaven sing. The music seemed to come from afar. Hark now, hear the angels sing, new king's born today, and man will live forevermore because of Christmas Day.
Peace is generosity. Peace is generosity. Peace is right and duty. Not diminishment of life, but its zest and beauty. Not the silence of the dead, nor the tears of grieving, but dynamic of a world rich beyond believing. Peace is not the child of fear, nor what terror teaches. Peace is quick to give and serve where compassion reaches. Not oppression in return, grudges unforgiven, but the good of all for all and the gift of heaven. Christmas calls the world to peace, life not death-defying. In one baby's human cry, hope again comes shining. When our hands are open hands, when we share one table, then the new day's morning star lights the Christmas stable.
Gabriel foretold it, the angels heralded it, the shepherds came to see for themselves, and it is true. God is with us through Jesus Christ, the babe of Bethlehem, our living Lord. The world will never be the same. We ourselves will never be the same. Go then and tell the world that Jesus Christ is born, and go in God's peace. Amen.